Welcome back to the 50th episode of the podcast. And as you may notice, there's a different laptop in use today, and that is directly related to Apple's tomfoolery. Now, if you didn't know, if you don't own another Apple product, to unlock your MacBook if your password's not working, and I say not working specifically because I had the right password, and I was told I had the right password, and it still wasn't working. So, to fix that, you have to wait 24 hours till they tell you when you will get a link to unlock your account. So you wait 24 hours, they send you an email. My email happened to say in 2 weeks from now, basically, you will receive an email to unlock your MacBook. Well, fuck Apple is the end of that story, and I'm excited to do the 50th episode after some delay of me moving on from the Apple ecosystem that I only had a laptop for. And starting off with that is Apple's iPhone 15 Pro issues. So if you haven't heard already, the iPhone 15 Pro has had some overheating problems. And with that, people have been kind of saying, is it the titanium? Is it the new chip plus the titanium? Is there something wrong there? And it turns out that it seems like that's not the main cause, at least in Apple's opinion. So Apple says that due to some recent updates to third-party apps, they've overloaded the system and contributed to the overheating issue, which means a large number of people must be downloading these same third-party apps, which is interesting. The report notes some of these apps include Instagram, Uber, and racing games such as Asphalt 9 Legend. Apple's working with these developers to fix that. The Apple says the 15 Pro models may run warmer than expected for the first few days. And that's normal for any phone. After you've set up a phone, it's normal. There's going to be a lot of extra background activity while you're doing stuff. There's a lot of things happening, and that should be a temporary increase, and then your phone should not have the issue anymore. So Apple's statement, word for word here, is, we've identified a few conditions in which can cause the iPhone to run warmer than expected. The device may feel warmer during the first few days after setting it up or restoring the device because of increased background activity. We've also found a bug in iOS 17 that has impacted some users and will be addressed in a software update. Another issue involves some recent updates of third-party apps causing them to overload the system. We're working with these developers and in the process of rolling out those fixes. So, fascinating. This is kind of one of those bugs that you would think would be an easier one to catch. If you're listing apps like Instagram or Uber or Asphalt 9, one of those games that they always use at their events, you would think somebody may have caught on to this. Now, Apple also said that the iPhone 15 Pro's titanium frame and aluminum substructure do not contribute to the overheating issue, ruling out a hardware problem. Earlier speculation was Apple would have to throttle down some of their devices to kind of meet the safety of using your phone without it burning you. Not that I think anyone got burned, but they were getting extremely hot. So not all iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max users have experienced this. So it's unclear how many were affected, but it got big. So a decent amount at least would be probably fair to say. And hopefully this isn't something that, ends up not just being fixed by these. Hopefully there's not more reports of this problem. Hopefully this doesn't cause any long-term damage to those devices that are being overloaded. You could just get a little unlucky and roll the silicon lottery a little wrong, and bada bing, bada boom, your phone overheats a little bit, and that's just too much. But it doesn't seem like any of that's happened, so hopefully this is actually a good fix from Apple. Following that is the MetaQuest 3. Now, we have all of the MetaQuest 3 factuals going on here, and this is possibly the most exciting thing that is being launched in a long time for AR headsets. Now, you can definitely argue that the Apple Provision is up there. I would counter-argue and say for $3,500, some of those features are pretty gimmicky on that. Apple's not one to do gimmicky features all the time. You had the Island come out. That was kind of a gimmick. Now you have the Provision, got some gimmicky things to it. But nonetheless, at $3,500, you're missing most of the people that would be interested in buying one, especially a first-gen product. So the MetaQuest 3, after the MetaQuest 2, the MetaQuest 2 was amazing. I own one of those. The software updates throughout the lifespan, it got better, 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 better. And now we have the Meta Quest 3. Now this is coming up like 3 years later, so it's been a minute. But honestly, a lot of the features are in line with the Quest Pro or better than the Quest Pro, which is an $1,100 headset. And this here starts at $500 for 128 gigs. Now on October 10th is the official release date. This will have the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Gen 2 chip, which I believe is like the slightly better than the Pro, if I remember correctly. So the Quest 3 will have twice the graphics processing power of the Quest 2, which is absolutely astounding. Now, also, there's a lot of big changes with this headset outside of this. 8 gigs of RAM. Storage will have 128 gigs. That's the $500 model. 512 gigs for $649. So quite a big difference there. But to be honest, 128 gigs from most people is probably all right for a mobile headset like this. Big changes coming to this here is they will have 2 RGB external cameras, so you have full color pass-through this time. Also, since the headset is 3 times faster at processing your graphics, it'll be so much better for that. Refresh rate is 90 Hz native, but experimental 120. I believe on the Quest 2 right now, and I could be wrong, I believe you can get 120 Hz too, but the graphical fidelity of games on the Quest 3 is going to be incredibly better. We're looking at about the exact same battery life as the Quest 2, which if that's true, 2 hours of playtime is pretty good. Charge time's 2 hours as well. Everything's backwards compatible. No eye tracking, but this headset with its extra tracking and stuff like that, you won't necessarily need to use the controllers. It does have the controllers, but you won't need them, which is sweet because the hand gestures on the 2 just felt like the headset couldn't quite handle it or pick it up all the time, but this one will be able to. Now, other awesome things here is that the Quest 3 gets a fully upgraded display. We're getting about 30% more resolution compared to the Quest 2. Further specs includes 25 pixels per degree in virtual reality, 1218 pixels per inch. I also read in a few articles that the headset will be about half the size of the Quest 2, which is also that's a pretty wild change. That's a big change in terms of weight, size. I mean, you can see it here. The front of the headset is easily close to that 50% smaller. I would expect the Quest 3 to eventually push 144 Hertz in later updates. I don't see why it wouldn't. And the Quest, I don't want to make you buy something just because I'd say so. But the Quest 2 did get plenty of updates that made frame rate better, fidelity better. They got a lot of things changed with that headset over its lifespan, and I think the Quest 3 will probably see that same support, with Meta basically going full in on this. So unfortunately, it's only 18-watt charging, which is exactly what the Quest 2 had. As you can see, its optical profile is now 40% slimmer, and that's due to some new pancake lenses. That said, the company Oculus that Meta bought makes great lenses, and hopefully Meta hasn't changed that because that is literally the most important part of the headset. Now, the Quest 3 is also 40% louder than the Quest 2, which the Quest 2 already got pretty loud. Not like ear-hurting loud by any means, but it got pretty loud, so Quest 3 will probably be hitting that thing. There also will now be a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack if you want to plug in headphones. That is awesome. I would love to see Bluetooth support that's better than the Quest 2. The Quest 2 just was a little sketch. In terms of straps, it's a soft strap included, the Hard Elite for $69 extra. Similar to the Quest 2, the strap design is slightly altered for a more secure fit. Controllers, however, have changed design here. So the controllers don't have the circles on them anymore. Sweet. Touch Controllers Plus will also support true haptics, giving the Quest 3 controllers features we love from the PSVR 2. As this article says, I've never tried the PSVR 2, but I believe that requires the PlayStation, so this doesn't, so whatever. This is a hot take from this article, but the Touch Plus controller will frustratingly rely on disposable AA batteries. That's stupid to say because you can buy rechargeable AA batteries, genius. And the headset does get a MetaQuest charging dock for an additional $129. The wireless charging for the headset is facilitated through contact pads on the bottom of the headset and include lithium rechargeable batteries for the controllers. Quest 3 is full of features. Now, I don't really care about the rest of this. I think for $500, especially when you think of Apple's Pro Vision, of the MetaQuest 2, of the MetaQuest Pro, this headset should kill it. Yes, it's more expensive. MetaQuest 2 is $300. $200 more for this update is insane, especially if it meets everything they showed off. It's going to be a wild headset to have, use, do whatever you want with. And I'm excited for this. This is a headset. I might wait for a couple of reviews, a couple of people to get hands-on at least, just because that's how I prefer to buy things, is someone else tries it first and then I buy it. But this is definitely a candidate for me wanting to buy a new headset here. It looks sweet. I think it's a clear miles upgrade over the Quest 2, and it's exciting to see these AR or VR, whatever you want to call these XR headsets, to get these massive updates like that. Next up, with another release, we have DJI announces the Mini 4 Pro with a new camera sensors, and they're adding Mavic features to this. Now, I think we're going to see these Mavic features. The Mavic lineup is kind of the staple lineup. If you're a professional, you buy a Mavic drone. I do think that more and more people are going to start going for the Mini. And that is because the Mini doesn't meet FAA regulations because it's 249 grams. So it does not get big enough to have to be registered. And that is a big deal, especially if you want to fly a drone. Obviously, you still need a license if you're doing professional work. But for size requirements and all of that stuff, the Mini's kind of hitting the target there. So Mini got some pretty big updates. The new version supports slow motion recording at 4K 100 FPS, up from 1080 120 from the previous gen. Now 100 FPS is kind of a weird number, but plenty good. It also will support 4K 60 HDR video for greater dynamic range. Low light performance will also get a huge gain with dual native ISO. If you didn't know, most cameras have a native ISO where the image looks the best, and dual native means that there's another point where as you're going up, the noise will drop because the sensor's meant to run at that. Pretty helpful for doing low light stuff. Not that the Mini 4, the Mini series kind of gets in a weird spot where you can get awesome features, but because the drone is meeting this weight limit, your flight time / wind ability is kind of restricted. So flying sometimes in more challenging conditions like at night or in windy conditions can get a little difficult, but still an awesome camera. So there is also a new wide angle lens accessory that will produce a super wide 100 degrees field of view that is sold separately, but it fits on just like you would twist on an ND filter under your drone, just like that. Now, much like the Mavic Air 3, the Air 3 and recent Mavic drones, DJI is also supporting 10-bit D-Log and HLG color profiles in the Mini 4 Pro. So the D-Syn-like profile that DJI has been using for a while is fine. It's not amazing. It's raw, so it's better than not raw, but this is definitely a much better way to do this. And it is a Mavic series feature that is making its way down into these lower drones. Range here is also improved, not that you ever should be flying this far away, but supporting up to 1080p at 60 FPS at distances up to 20 kilometers, so that's like 14 miles or 12 miles or something like that. While keeping the drone in visible range is still important. Signal strength, like the distance here is not what we're really caring about. Signal strength like that is what makes a huge difference. When you're flying in a downtown area, in a congested area, having that ability to have that stronger signal is a really big deal, even for flying within line of sight. It's just nice to know that you have that. Following that up, on the software front, DJI is also extending the waypoints and cruise control features to the Mini 4 Pro. So, like I said, the Mini drone is really starting to get these pro-level features, if you will, brought down to it, and that is going to make these mini drones that don't need to be registered so much more of a thought before going to the Mavic. I think the Mavic will still always take your better wind, your better, definitely still a separate product, definitely still needed, but the Mini for so many people is just becoming the drone that, why would you even look at anything else? So now, similar to the previous gen, the standard batteries will only get you 34 minutes of flight time. Now, you got to remember that you're probably going to get 20 minutes of actually flying around, depending on wind and blah, 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 because you had to take off and land, and you don't want to literally hit 0 as you're landing. But the Intelligent Flight Plus batteries will achieve 45 minutes, just barely shorter than the 47 they could hit with the Mini 3 Pro. That said, this drone is a little more powerful here, so that's great to see. As a reminder, the Plus batteries will actually increase the rate to more than 249 grams, then registering you to legally, then making it safe to legally, register your drone in the U.S. at least. So if you're in the market for this, the base package, which is just the drone, the controller that requires your phone, a battery, and a pair of props, and the other, accessories you need to plug your drone in to charge it and to plug your thing into the controller, starts at $759. Holy crap, reading. The RC2 controller is available for $959, includes the same gear. So the RC2 is the cheaper version with a screen controller that's not like the full-on ballin' controller. And for the full flight experience, which, to be honest, if you're using this for anything other than for fun, you kind of you want to get the Fly More combo when it comes to these drones. That'll run you at about $1,100. It includes 3 batteries, 3 propellers, the shoulder bag, 2-way charging hub, and finally you can pick up the extended flight time batteries. They replace the regular batteries in the Fly More Combo Plus for $1,159. So at $1,159, you probably just want to spring for that if you really want extra batteries as well. Not that you're going to use the shoulder bag or anything like that, but the charging hub is, I would say, a must if you get extra batteries. And if you're going to be already spending $1,100, the extra $60 to get, what are we talking about here? An extra 10 minutes of flight time on each battery. That's an extra half hour of flying around. That's a lot at the end of the day, and that is totally worth it. And that is available now on DJI's website and probably on other retailers by the time I got around to this. So awesome pickup. This DJI is, everyone talks about the Sky Duo or whatever the other one's called. I want to say the Ario, but I don't remember if that's actually how you say it or not. But anyways, everyone talks about those ones, but DJI they own the market, man. There's just no other way around it. If you want awesome flight features, flies easy, is easy to control, all of that stuff, you're kind of looking at DJI, unfortunately. Now, Tesla here with a new Optimus look here at what the robot's been able to learn in the time that's been doing this. So this is cool because it kind of shows you what Tesla's cars are really capable of. Tesla obviously shows videos like that, but it's kind of the same process they're using for vision here as their cars. It's just controlling the robot differently than driving a car. So kind of cool to see what it's capable of and how quickly they're able to really teach this system is kind of what they've shown us through Optimus here. So Optimus here has learned a few things. It's learned to sort things autonomously. And the coolest part of this is actually that it's all done on device. Now, I don't know if it really takes that much, but Optimus can fully calibrate itself on its own. It can also organize these blocks here as we're watching. Pretty cool just to see Optimus knows how to organize these things. What the heck? Hit play. Optimus can organize these blocks because you can see if you're watching, he's got 2 bins with 2 different colored blocks, and the bins are colored. Well, one of them's not colored the same as the blocks, but the blue blocks are the same as the blue bin, and the yellow bin has green blocks. And it's organizing it on its own. It's picking them up with its hand, putting them in there. As you can see, the guy pulls it out of the bin, it puts it back, and he moves things around right as it's reaching for him. It quickly adapts here and then grabs it and puts it in the correct box. The only thing they didn't do in this video that was kind of interesting is you can see here he tips it over, Optimus does, and Optimus actually grabs the block and writes it up inside its bin. It can also unsort things. Now, I would be curious, they didn't show it in the video, and I wonder if they would to have put one of the colors in the wrong bin if Optimus is capable of correcting that yet, or if it's only like I adapt to real-time things, but once it's in the bin, like, I'm done. It'd be cool to see if that was something they had done. Also, they showed some cool balancing here, but I don't feel like the balancing thing's that hard once you figure out what to do. But this robot is going to be absolutely wild. Unfortunately, if you work in Tesla's assembly line, you got some years at least still, but this is coming for your job. You know what I mean? And super cool to see where they're at. I mean, seeing what Optimus is capable of and what it's doing now, and just super cool update here. A lot of questions still in terms of if they hit that 15K price point. I mean, assembly line workers, what are you going to do? Because this is easily just what's going to be doing your thing. And I mean, with that, there's not really that much else to say here other than Optimus is getting better at what it does. Following that, though, we have Asus is selling the largest micro LED monitor ever for a cool 200K. So if you got 200K lying around, it's unfortunately only 4K and low refresh rate. But it does hit a 2000 nit peak brightness at 135 inches, and it is a ProArt Cinema. Now, Asus's ProArt lineup usually means it's color graded extremely well, and it delivers nearly infinite contrast ratios just like OLED displays. But the main reason I brought this article up, so it is the largest micro LED money can buy for $200,000, and it doesn't use panels from Samsung because its 0.78 pixel pitch is lower than that Samsung showed earlier this year. So whose display are they really using? No one really knows. Probably in-house, because if you're Asus, you might as well do that. No one actually knows here. But $200,000 price tag, color gamut is 95% DCIe P3, which is just shy of the level that the best OLED displays can achieve. It also is limited to 60 hertz. I think for what this is, probably totally fine. But this does let us talk about the difference between OLED and micro LED displays. So OLED uses organic material to display, which is kind of why you get burn-in quicker. They only last so long. They start to lose brightness over time. All of that stuff is because they use organic emitters that can degrade over time. Now, micro LEDs use more stable inorganic ones. So OLED LEDs pixels are using organic materials using tiny individual pixels that can light up. Now, the brightness. Micro LEDs are brighter than OLEDs and have the ultra low black levels as well. Micro LEDs are also more durable than OLEDs and have a higher lifetime, as we were just covering. Micro LEDs also can generate significantly less heat than conventional LEDs, which means they are less likely to have pixel failure. And at the end of the day, micro LEDs will have a higher color gamut than OLEDs. Just kind of to be seen here. We're just kind of tapping into micro LEDs. This is kind of the new thing. Micro LEDs also have the potential to create highly efficient and great-looking flexible displays. So flexible displays are capable of this. The only thing these mini LEDs or micro LEDs do worse than OLED is their viewing angles start to suck. So OLEDs have almost 180 degrees of viewing angles, and mini LEDs are a little more sketchy, but overall still not too bad. And following that up here, we have... we talked about this on the last episode. I know it's been a minute, but we talked about Cruise's CEO basically said that we should ban human drivers in downtown areas, which I was like, I don't think we're near that time. Plus, for a lot of people that just need to go downtown for a second, like I'm supposed to get out of my car and walk like a mile into the city, or like how does that all? Like, there's a lot of questions with doing something like that. Nonetheless, I live here in Austin, Texas, and Cruise's robotaxis, literally a couple days later, caused a massive traffic jam downtown, where, as you can see here through this shitty phone footage, two of these cars are facing each other and clearly are lost and not sure what to do. And if you actually, I hope the video's in here, I don't know if it is, but there is actually a video of... there's like 30 of these cars down here just stuck in a traffic jam, which is absolutely... Here we go. Here's the video. So as you can see, we have some normal drivers, unfortunately, stuck in traffic. We have a load of Cruise vehicles causing traffic to be stopped. And that is awesome. Thank you. I don't need this. Screw Reddit. Who cares? Basically, this shows that these Cruise vehicles are not ready. These vehicles cannot figure out what's going on. All the other vehicles are paused because they don't know what's going on. And you're just kind of in a spot of, awesome. So if you're going to say something like that as the CEO, your car should not be doing this. Now, obviously, there's not an actual accident or anything like that, but if you were stuck in like a sea of these self-driving cars and they were just parked, I mean, how pissed would you be stuck in that traffic? So good job to you, Cruise CEO. There is Clearly, a lot more your company can do to get better at this self-driving stuff. Not that you're not in a bad spot. I mean, clearly they're testing them on public roads, so they're in a good spot. But um, explain how these two cars are doing what they're doing. I mean, obviously they didn't crash, but like kind of wild. And I love that there's a trail of them in the back, just stuck at the stop sign. And lastly, here, Tesla Giga Texas workforce has sailed over 20,000 employees, putting them on track to be the #1 private company in Texas, at least in terms of employees. So Tesla's Giga Texas is on track to become a manufacturing juggernaut with an estimated 60K employees. Now, this is kind of an estimate, but a new report claims EV Maker now employs north of 20,000 people on the daily, at Giga Texas being the second largest private employer in the region, which is pretty impressive. Now, Tesla appears to have added roughly 8,000 employees in the first 8 to 9 months of 2023, and that's after officials previously stating that the workforce had grown to 12,277 people by the end of 2022. So we don't really know for sure they're there, but most of these employees are from Austin. The rest are from Houston and San Antonio, which I find hard to believe because if they're daily from Houston or San Antonio, that's like a couple-hour drive to work on the daily, which is fascinating if people really, really, really want to be doing that. We rarely get official scoops from the brand. They're pretty tight-lipped about their operations, but they're only behind HEB, which is a supermarket chain here in Texas. As the second largest private employer, HEB reportedly employs nearly 23,000 people earlier this year. And just to give you an idea on like how many people this really is working at this factory, we all know these gigafactories are gigantic. But just to give you an idea on like truly how much space these are taking up, Ford, in comparison, employs 7,250 workers at its Kansas City assembly plant and 8,920 workers at its Kentucky truck plant, as per official data. And General Motors Factory Zero in Michigan will have just over 2,100 people after becoming fully operational. So yeah, these gigafactories are in fact giga. They are massive, and they employ so many people. Now, Elon previously estimated that between a quarter to half of a million Cybertrucks will be built at Giga Texas at some point here. Don't really know when that's going to happen yet, as nobody knows when the Cybertruck announcement is going to really be yet, so up in the air and all that. But the factory appears to be unmatched to the Giga Shanghai in terms of capacity, with 20,000 employees and the ability to crank out over 1 million EVs annually, which is so many cars. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the 50th episode of Brands Bites. I hope you guys really are enjoying the show, and I hope it's getting better over time. I'm going to have to go listen to like the first one to see if there is improvement over time. I would love for there to be, but I don't know. I mean, I listen back as I cut these together, but I don't really know. And again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.